Hello and welcome to Bharat I'm Brigadier Chatterjee. We are going to be talking about the challenges that the new ministry faces in New Delhi. When we've had the elections, we've got the results, and then we're a stable ministry. Most of the swearing in already done, and now it's time to handle the challenges. And to take me through the paces, I have with me Nitin Gokhale. Nitin Gokhale is our editor-in-chief, so gets back home now and then. Well, Nitin, welcome home once again.
Thank you.
I'll start up with the challenges straight away. And the first one that comes to my mind is this business of appointing the chief of army staff. We thought it was a very big challenge. That's why the government had postponed it from pre-election to post-election by giving one of the chiefs a month's extension. So how is it that the announcement was done much faster than we could imagine, really?
I think from what I've gathered after, it happened last night, which is on Tuesday night. And the information that is filtering through is that the government did not want to take that decision during the last few phases of the elections because it would sort of rob the incoming chief of some kind of legitimacy because it was deemed to be a caretaker government. And also the fact that they wanted one clarity about which government was coming in, and therefore they wanted to leave it to the next government, theoretically, like that. And the moment it was the new ministry was sworn in, the Prime Minister is the same, the Defence Minister is the same. So it didn't take them much time because all the files were already there with the ACC, the Appointments Committee of Cabinet. And I think they just must have taken that one full day to issue the notification, which came in late last night or late Tuesday night. So therefore, I think it's a good decision. Seniority principle has been adhered to once again. And I think only thing that will happen is this: the current chief, by current indications, will get only 23 months in office. I mean, the new incoming chief.
1 month.
1 month has been lopped off of his tenure because otherwise he retires on 30th June 2026. According to current indications.
It's not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal for, eventually he would also feel it that way, and I think most of the people who watch the military, the veterans and the current serving officers will feel that it's ultimately a good decision to go with, given that right now there is a lot of flux in the country because of the election results and otherwise. So I think ultimately it's a good decision.
Okay, right, let's go further. Agnipath, I feel we call that a recruitment.
Yes.
New kind of recruitment policy
system,
has been introduced now, and as far as a lot of veterans were concerned, there were reservations about this. It appears it's made a dent in the ruling party's support at the polls also.
Yes.
So, and there have been some sort of changes also promised by the Defence Minister in the last couple of days. So put together, can you give us a little bit of story, and really how do you see Agnipath being modified?
So let's go back to the time when it was proposed and implemented 2 years ago, Agnipath scheme, where the young men were being recruited for a period of 4 years, and at the end of 4 years, 25% of the recruitment or recruited people would be retained for a longer service. That was the case. And those who were going out were were to be given an option to get absorbed in the central police forces, or also get about 10 to 12 lakh rupees in one time grant kind of a thing, and some support from the entrepreneurship development, skill development ministry, as well as MSME ministry, and that kind of promises were made. There were certainly reservations, like you said, within the veteran community and within the military itself. But if you recall, I mean, a lot of people have forgotten that even at the time of implementation of that scheme, when the three chiefs and the Raksha Mantri held a press conference, they said that we are starting with this, and if necessary, we will modify as we go along after getting the feedback after 2-3 years. That statement was made in that press conference also. Many people have forgotten that. And then in the run-up to the elections, even before the elections were announced, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh had twice or thrice said in various public meetings in Rajasthan and other places, in anticipation of the election dates being announced, that we are willing to we are willing to revisit that decision of retaining only 25% of the Agniveers in the service. So now they have got this dent, like you said, politically they must have been affected in certain number of seats in North India especially, starting from Rajasthan right up to Bihar, I think, or up to Jharkhand. People have expressed their displeasure and dissatisfaction with this scheme, and I think the BJP suffered politically. So clearly, the politicians are nothing if not quick learners. So they have learned this, and they have already said that we will revisit it. Now, what is the contours of that revisit and the relook at that scheme, we still don't know. But Army has also started a feedback kind of a campaign to get what exactly has happened and what are the strengths and the weaknesses of this system. So I suppose in the next couple of months we will see some announcement on to this effect that some tweaking has taken place.
Two things I think we can learn from this. One is that you cannot push it down, some sort of an issue, which has got a tremendous effect at the grassroots level.
Absolutely.
That's what has been done with Agnipath.
That's right. Yeah.
And the second is this business of correcting things now and coming out with some modification.
Right.
I feel it has to be bold.
Okay.
You cannot start from 25%, jump to, instead of retaining 25%, we'll retain 30% or 40% or 50%. I think the whole thing should be turned on its head, that you retain 75% and you throw out 25%. That will give the competitive edge also. At the same time, you're also looking after most of the...
You are right, in an ideal situation certainly. But since it was a political decision to begin with, coupled with support from the military, that they needed to bring down the age profile of the Jawans and soldiers and sailors and airmen, the sense that I get would be that the governments don't readily admit their mistakes or do not want to appear as if they have succumbed to pressure. So no government does it, any party. I mean, it's not just about one party. So what they will do perhaps is to do this 50% retention or maybe 60% retention and then see it again after 4 or 5 years, two more batches of Agniveers having come in, then they will have a correct idea of where it is going. So I think it will be a compromise between the extreme demand which you just put on the table, 75% retention, and this current state of affairs where 25% are being retained. There will be some mean average between the two, and I think the government will do that.
I think you're quite okay. 60% also, I quite agree with you.
Yeah.
25% is such line that you cannot go down. And
Yeah,
go up.
exactly.
So even 60% will be a major step.
I suppose so.
Retention.
But let's see where it goes.
We'll go a little bit to the CDS and this portfolio, and I'm primarily talking about joint commands, theatre commands, these two aspects.
Yes.
2 or 3 of them are supposed to now come up, as much as one gets to know from the other sources.
Right. Yeah.
Now, this is one of the big challenges that the government has of pushing it through. It's already been in the baking for long enough now. Time to deliver some bread.
Yes, so I suppose, if you look at the manifesto of the Bharatiya Janata Party, ruling BJP, there was a one-line promise that theaterization will be rolled out or implemented. So it is the government's, one of the key points for government to deliver, because the Prime Minister is the same, the Defence Minister is the same. So therefore, I think what is going to happen from what I know, and we have discussed this earlier also, that the 3 chiefs of the 3 services and the Chief of Defence Staff have already discussed threadbare what is going to be the shape of theatre commands or joint commands going forward. 3 of them have been agreed upon at the moment, that is Northern Command, Northern Theatre Command, Western Theatre Command and the Maritime Theatre Command. Having agreed on that, they have also worked out the composition of the Theatre Command headquarters. What is remaining perhaps is to dovetail the service headquarters, especially the operations and the intelligence branch and the logistics support of the 3 services into the theatre command, joint command structure,
joint
logistics and joint even operations. And when you have theatre command, it will be an operational command.
Yeah.
Now, where do you put in the functional aspects of operations and intelligence? How do they work with each other? How do they interact with each other? How do they talk to each other? I think that is being discussed, or it's more or less being finalized. I think the next step is to take this plan to the Raksha Mantri, who will sign on or sign off on it, clear it. Then it will go to perhaps CCS, and then it will start getting rolled out, is what my information is. So perhaps it will take at least another couple of months or 3 months to declare the intent to implement the theatre command system.
Oh, even that will be an achievement. That will be a major achievement for the CDS also, should they be able to start the process really on the ground.
That's right.
And in about 3 months' time.
I get that sense because a lot of work is being done at various places. Various committees are in place. They are also talking about joint training. Without joint training, you cannot have joint commands. So joint training, joint planning, joint logistics, joint communication. So he's identified in one of the, of course, the interview that he gave us during our conclave, Bharat Shakti conclave in October last year, he had identified 9 verticals on which they are working simultaneously. So I think that's a substantial work that has been done. Spade work has been done. Implementation, like I said, it depends on what kind of timetable the government has in mind or the CDS has in mind.
Right, let me give you another big issue which is very important for us, I think, for our defense preparedness today and more for our defense preparedness tomorrow.
Yeah.
If we want to really be successful for. And that is the Defense Research and Development Organization. Nobody is going to be giving us cutting edge technology.
Yes.
We've got to develop it in-house and we've got to make our platforms with technology that we have developed.
Absolutely.
Primarily.
Yes.
So there's a reforms committee, quite aware of 9-member committee, which is put into place. And they came out with their report, I think, possibly in January this year.
Yeah.
And there were observations on the report by DRDO's old stalwarts.
Right.
They've all been overruled, or most of them have been overruled, I'm not too aware. And it's been decided that we will go ahead with implementation. So how does...
I think, that is, I think, a challenge for the DRDO. And one step the government has already taken, positive step, is to give an extension of 1 year to the current DG DRDO and Secretary DRDO, Samir Kamath. He's got that mandate now, and he's got also the deadlines. Word is from inside DRDO that they see this as a very hard deadline of implementing all the changes by end of August 2024. Even if they spill it over to say October or November, it still will be an achievement, but this is irreversible. The reforms process in DRDO, government has put its foot down and said you have to carry it out. So I suppose that will be carried out, and there will be much more synergy between the services and the DRDO. DRDO's points about services changing their specs or specifications repeatedly or frequently, asking for the moon when it is not available. All those are valid concerns, and services have also now learned to work with DRDO and give them realistic points and realistic achievements.
For a system
which is not there. Exactly. So I think that has now been sorted out. So I'm again hopeful that by end of the year we'll have a clear roadmap about where DRDO is going.
Right. We've got a stable ministry, of course.
That's right.
But notwithstanding the stable ministry, our threat levels are pretty high.
Absolutely.
And there's a requirement of our procurement and acquisition the cycle being made faster should we want to modernize.
Right.
Look at the way the Chinese are going about it.
Absolutely.
If you take a lesson from the Chinese, we are far short of it.
Absolutely. Yes.
So what has been done in order to ensure that our procurement and acquisition mechanism works on a much tighter time frame?
So, okay, if you look at the journey of the acquisition process or the document for acquisition process, it has gone through various editions. 2016 was the first time in recent years when it was completely overhauled, when Manohar Parrikar was the defense minister. It was then called DPP 2016. There was also this chapter which was added later on strategic partnership, where a foreign OEM and an Indian company would partner together to manufacture big platforms, submarines, aircraft, helicopters, guns, radars, all that. Then it went through another iteration, and by 2020 they renamed that procedure to Defence Acquisition Procedure 2020, which again is now 4 years old. So I'm told that there is a group of people, I don't know whether it's called a committee, it's called a panel, I'm not sure what it is, are rewriting or improving upon the Defence Acquisition Procedure 2020, making it shorter. The document itself is a huge mammoth document. They are not only shortening the document but also shortening the process, what you spoke about. Because one desire that late Manohar Parrikar had was that from acceptance of necessity of a platform or a technology, to placing an order, it should not take more than 18 months is what was his desire. I don't think we have achieved that so far. Even if we achieve about 2 years, 24 months in that journey, it will be a great achievement, and I think that is what everyone is striving for now. The best part of all this is that all the service headquarters are on board on this. They are reaching out to the defense companies, they are reaching out to smaller car players, they are going to the smallest of places like Belgaum and Coimbatore and Nashik and what have you. So therefore, I think this change of mindset itself is a major reform that has taken place. But you're right, unless we fast track acquisition, EP worked very well. EP is the emergency procurement, but
Because
that
there are
can,
no rules really
there no,
governing.
no, there were rules, but the amount of contracts or the value of the contracts were limited to 300
limited.
crores. 300 crores, so not much risk there. But it cannot be replicated for a capital acquisition. So that is the challenge. But I think we are on right track on that.
Right, Nirul, just a couple of geopolitical issues which have tremendous significance. I'll just touch upon one
Sure.
of them. China. The threat that it has been for almost the fifth year into being a threat.
Yes.
What do you have to say? How will it go?
So I think the Chinese are sending signals that we need to move on from the border issue or the standoff on the border. We should keep it in the right perspective in the overall relationship is the Chinese stand. On Tuesday, when External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar took over again as External Affairs Minister, he spoke very clearly about that being one of the top priorities of solving or bringing down the tension with China on the border. But he put the ball back in the Chinese court, saying it is up to China to make the first move to bring it back to normalcy on the border. And only then we can move on other issues. So I think that stand will remain because India cannot be seen to be succumbing to Chinese pressure. The trade deficit notwithstanding, the other moves that the Chinese make notwithstanding. But I don't see a quick solution to the boundary issue. Whether there will be new protocols, whether there will be new SOPs on the border, on the LAC, line of actual control, we still do not know. But there are a couple of opportunities for the top leaders to meet. One is at the SCO summit in Astana in Kazakhstan in the first week of July. And then later there is a BRICS summit coming up, where again Prime Minister Modi and President Xi Jinping should be meeting, should have an opportunity to meet if they decide to do a pull aside and have a bilateral meeting.
Right. China, I guess let's wait for the meeting.
Yes.
Hopefully something will
Exactly.
crystallize,
Yeah.
though it moves very slow when it comes
Yeah.
to China.
Yeah.
With Pakistan, again, we are having that kind of a problem. Every other day there is a terrorist activity somewhere, especially now in the
Jammu division, yes.
So, and I don't think they've learned their lessons anyway. They have.
They won't give up this, and I think there have been 3 attacks in the last 3 days in Jammu division. One on the bus, the other on the CRPF convoy or CRPF patrol, and the senior superintendent of police was also fired at apparently in Jammu division. So clearly the vacuum that was created because one counter-insurgency force uniform was taken to Ladakh during the China standoff, that has been filled or that has been taken advantage of by the terrorists in Jammu division. I think 2 more brigades have been put in there of the army to counter that. But it's a worrisome trend that south of Pir Panjal these activities are taking place. And I don't think Pakistan Army or the ISI has given up on their campaign in Jammu and Kashmir to keep the pot boiling, but boil it only to an extent where the water doesn't spill over or doesn't spill out of the vessel.
Doesn't go
over so that it doesn't invite retaliation of the kind that we saw in Uri and in Balakot. So, but again, the government of India will have to take a call if this goes on. And it is it's a negative kind of publicity for both the government, for the assembly elections that are due in Jammu and Kashmir, and also the security forces who are shown up in poor light of not being able to control that situation in Jammu division. So I think there will be some drastic action that will take place.
I suppose that is what is expected. Well, one last issue.
Yeah, sure.
It's about Maldives. You know, the president sings a tune over here, and there's another tune being played over there equally loud
Right.
by the parliamentarians in Maldives.
Absolutely.
So is the right tune for us to...
No, so I think this is the game that India has now learned to play very well. That in the neighborhood, in the Indian subcontinent, there will be a competition from China. And the smaller nations like Maldives and Seychelles and Mauritius and Sri Lanka, they will play this big giant against the other and extract maximum from both. So Muizu here was all, honey and sweet with Prime Minister Modi when he came for his swearing in. But when he goes back, he'll say, review the projects that India is doing in Maldives. So we should expect this, and I think Indian diplomacy has learned to live with this kind of a thing. Again, landing on its feet all the time in Maldives or in Sri Lanka and not letting it go. But that competition is now inevitable between India and China in the region. So we'll have to keep at it all the time, is what my sense is.
I guess keeping at it, being nimble is what's required. Anyway, that's all for the day. Nitin, thank you so much. Thanks for spending.
Pleasure.
Right. And thank you, Viz. Thanks for tuning in to BharatShakti.in. Do tune in like this now and then, and you will find interesting issues being discussed.